Okay, now let's talk about how to set up custom snapshots in Minion.CheckDB. This is really pretty easy and it's very flexible as well. Now, before we start this, it's notable that you can only take custom snapshots for CheckDBs on Enterprise and above. Well, Enterprise and above. There is no above, but on Enterprise. So usually with SQL Standard Edition, you can't create custom snapshots on databases. Now with SQL 2016 SP1, they have brought that ability into the standard SKU, so we can do that if we've got 2016 SP1. So why would you want to create a snapshot for your CheckDBs? Well, really what happens is on really busy databases, when you're running CheckDBs for a long time, then the snapshot can fill up because the snapshot, the internal snapshot that SQL takes, gets created on the same drive with the database. So as those changes happen, when the database is really busy, it fills up that snapshot database, and the longer it takes the CheckDB to run, the fuller the snapshot database is going to get, and it can fill up. And once a snapshot fills up, then it's dead. You can't fix it. You can't expand it. You can't do anything. It's dead. So you come into this situation where you've got a lot of people who have really large, busy databases who can't run CheckDBs on them without running them against a snapshot. So what happens when you run it against a snapshot is you create a custom snapshot and then you run the CheckDB against that snapshot, not against the base database. So let's go ahead and learn how to do this, and then I'm going to show you a little bit of the reporting. So setting this up is extremely easy. I've got right here the CheckDB settings snapshot table. Now, I could have easily put all of these settings into the main settings DB table, but I wanted to kind of break it off into a more specialized table that was easier to work with, so you didn't have, so we didn't end up with a table that was 300 columns wide, right? So there are two steps to setting up a snapshot. First, you have to tell Minion.CheckDB that you want to take a custom snapshot for a specific database or for all databases, and then you have to tell it where you want the snapshot files to go. It's really that simple. Those are the only two steps. So right now, we are in the settings snapshot table. Now let's go over the options here. We've got the database name, of course, and like all of the other tables, we accept a Minion default. And so this means that this is where all of the databases are going, whether all of the databases are going to get a custom snapshot or not, right? So the operation name, do I want a custom snapshot for a CheckDB or do I want it for a check table? And this right here is what turns it on. Custom snapshot for CheckDBs? Yes. Now you notice how I've got this turned off for all the databases except for the demo database. And I want the demo database to have custom snapshots, but I want everybody else to use the ordinary internal snapshot that comes by default. So every database on the server is going to not get a custom snapshot except for the demo database. Now, okay, so I've got my custom snapshot here, and I've got my snapshot retention minutes set here, and that's going to be another video, but what that does is that allows you to drop and recreate the snapshot every few minutes, and that's only applicable to check tables. So even though it's set here for CheckDB, it's going to be ignored. It's only applicable for check tables, but right now we're going to talk about CheckDB. Snapshot retention deviation isn't being used right now. Delete final snapshot. Now this is an interesting column here. Now I don't have it set for CheckDB, but I do have it set for the check table. And of course what this means is, especially if you're rotating a bunch of the snapshots, do you want to delete that last one or not? But if you've only got one snapshot, then it's going to delete it at the end. And the reason why we did that is because if you've already got, well, for two reasons really, right? If you've already got a snapshot rotation going, then you don't want, Minion.CheckDB coming in and adding an extra snapshot that you're not expecting. So we allow you to delete that last snapshot if you want to. Also, you shouldn't have to manage your snapshots. You shouldn't wake up 4 months from now and have 3,000 snapshots, right, from all of your databases that you now have to go clean up that are just sitting there taking space. So by default, we really recommend that you always delete the final snapshot, and I'm not doing it here for a reason, and you'll see in a minute. SnapshotFailAction. This is what we're going to do if the snapshot fails. So if it's null, that means it's going to fail. You can also put the word fail in here if you'd rather see the word, right, other than null, because it's a little bit more descriptive. Okay, so not only can you use fail, but you can also use continue and continue with tab lock. And so continue will just use the database internal snapshot like a regular CheckDB, so it pretends that the snapshot flag isn't checked, and it just goes and runs a regular CheckDB with the internal snapshot. And continue with tab lock will run CheckDB with the tab lock option, which creates a whole bunch of locks, so it needs exclusive access and all of that. So you can see you've got options here for controlling the failure. And of course, the begin time, end time, day of the week, that means that you can have several options in here for different days of the week. So let's say that you have a really busy Friday and you've got to run a CheckDB, which means that it usually throws over your space requirement for your disk and the CheckDB fails. Well, you can set it up to do a snapshot instead, but maybe you don't want to do a snapshot or don't need to do a snapshot any other time. So like when you do it on Monday morning or something, because you're not nearly as busy, so you can just tell it that you don't need to take a snapshot on Monday, just check that off, right? So you've got lots of options here for controlling your snapshots. Okay, and make sure, of course, that the row is active. You always need the row to be active. So that's setting it up, or that's setting up the settings for it. And again, all you really need to worry about right here for CheckDB is the custom snapshot and the delete and then the fail action. And those are the things that you need to worry about. And the fail action, again, will default to fail, so you don't even need to worry about that if you want it to fail on the snapshot. And why would a snapshot fail? Well, there are a few reasons why it would fail, right? Number one, you're trying to take a snapshot on a standard edition of SQL where it doesn't allow it. That's one place where it would fail. Another one is if you got the disk wrong, and say you tried to put it on T, but there isn't a T drive on this server, or maybe the account doesn't have permissions to create the folder, or it doesn't have permissions to create files, something like that, right? So there are a few reasons why a snapshot creation would fail, and so this just defines, how it's going to handle it when it does. Okay, so we've met our first requirement. We've told Minion.CheckDB that we want to take a snapshot, a custom snapshot. Now we need to tell it where we want the files to be. So let's go ahead and do that. There we go. Now again, for this CheckDB, this is going to be the bottom of the barrel right here. MinionDefault right here, and again, I've got MinionDefault for the database name. That means all of the databases are going to go here, and this is again for the CheckDB operation. Now the file name of MinionDefault means all the files. I want all of the files to be created on C snapshot CheckDB. That's it, right? Every single file I want, every single database I want to go to that folder. And of course, you can have as many of these in here as you want, so you can have those database level overrides. And you notice how these two tables don't really have anything to do with each other. In the snapshot table, you see I had an override row for demo. I am not taking custom snapshots for every single database, just for this one. But in the path table, I don't have an override row. I want all of the databases going to the exact same location. So again, I've got my is active, and my server label, of course, will allow you to put it in a sub-label, in a subfolder with its own label in it if you want to. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. Now that we've told CheckDB that we want to take a custom snapshot, and we've told it where we want to put the files. So again, file name is all of the files. This is where all of the files are going to go to C, Snapshot CheckDB. And let's go ahead and take a look at that. I'm going to come down here. Let's go to C, and I probably have that in here somewhere. Snapshot CheckDB is right there, and I don't have anything in it. But just to show you how this kind of thing goes, let's delete this because it will always create the folder for you. Well, now that I've got that, let's go ahead and run this, and we're going to run it against the master and only the demo database because that's the one I'm interested in. There we go. And we should see that folder get created. There it is right there. And we can see the snapshot file in there. Perfect. Now this is done. Come over here and look at this guy. Let's see. What am I looking for? I'm looking for database snapshots. Let's refresh that. And you see that the snapshot file is still, or the snapshot database is still there. And that's because up here, I told it to not delete the final snapshot, right? So therefore it's still there. Now I can look at my snapshot stuff. Actually, we'll do that. Yeah, we'll do that some other time. Right now, let me go ahead and delete this snapshot. There we go. And now let's update the snapshot or the settings folder, and let's set DeleteFinalSnapshot equal 1. So I'm going to update that. There we go. And you can see now for CheckDB demo, I'm doing my custom snapshot, and I do want to delete that custom snapshot. So now when I run this, there we go. That's finished. And now when I refresh this, you can see there is no snapshot there because it was deleted. So how am I sure if it was deleted that the snapshot was even used? Well, that's because in the log details table, if I take a look at this, there is a difference between, you'll see here I've got my demo database. Now, the DBName is the database that you're running the CheckDB for. The CheckDB name is the name of the database that it was run against. So you'll see here, there was no snapshot taken here, right? You can see all the way down here, I've got a lot of stuff in here, and every bit of it, there we go. And so let's see the ones that actually had snapshots. So far, none of them, right? All of these guys, because this database equals this database. This database equals this database. So there are no other ones with custom snapshots in them. But this one up here is demo, and demo with a date portion on it. So that one has a custom snapshot, and that's how you know that that there was a custom snapshot for this database. Now that's just the basic snapshot. I'm going to end this video now, and we'll talk about placing files on different drives in the next video, and then we'll talk about some minor troubleshooting and analytics stuff that you can get into, and planning and whatnot with your snapshots in a later video. So that's it for the basics of custom snapshotting, and join me in the next video, and I'll see you there.